Hello, I want to show you the Lab 7 for CNET 56. Let me share my screen. All right, so first things first, here's the lab. It's on Canvas, so I'm just going to step through this whole thing and show you this. Let me get on my other computer here. So the first thing we want to do is go to our file share, which is 10.28.72.50. And go to the CNET56 folder and then just copy this router images to your desktop. All right, and while that's copying, what we're going to use this week is a program known as GNS3. And I have a version of it in here in this routers folder, along with a couple of iOS routers for Cisco. So, and I'll unwrap what that means in a second. So what you want to do is open this and then double click on GNS3 all-in-one installer. And then you want to click next. I agree, next. You want to uncheck Wireshark and SolarWinds. We already have Wireshark on our computers, and we don't want the SolarWinds thing. It's some paid thing that we really don't need. Then click next and install. Next for WinPCAP. And then finally, GNS3 will get going. All right. All right, so that's completed. Now we're going to say no to SolarWinds toolset. Click next, and then we're going to start up GNS3. This will go to a website. You can close that in the background. You can click don't show this again, and then make it full screen. All right, if it asks for a new project name, you hit cancel. And if it ever asks you to download it, the latest version, click no. We do not want to change that. All right, so now what we need to do is add routers to our GNS3. So to do that, click on Edit, Preferences, and then click on iOS Routers, and then New. And then where it says, where's the iOS image? Just browse to your desktop, router images, and we'll do the 2600 one first. Click on Open, Decompress, yes, next, and then you can just click next through this. And then when it says Idle PC Finder, just click on that, and it will go through. And what the Idle PC does is it finds the perfect match for your CPU to work with GNS3. If you don't do that, sometimes you can get like a 99% CPU utilization, which can cause your PC to either overheat and shut down or become really, really sluggish. All right, so we're going to add the 2600 and then the 3600. All right, so this will take just a little bit here. Okay, so it said it has been found, and then click Finish. And then we're going to do New again, Browse. We'll go back to our desktop, Router Images, and then do the 3640 router. Do you want to decompress it? Yes. Next. Next, next, next. Idle PC Finder. Again, this will take maybe a minute or so to do that. Now in the lab, it just has you add the routers, then you do the idle PC later. I'm going to show you how to do that with the 3700 router. So, but if you do it when you install, That way it's done. You don't have to come back and do it later. The lab, I have you do it when you need it. But either way, it's the same concept. But I'll show you how to do that with the 3700. Okay, it says it found a suitable one, finish. Now we'll add the 3700. Again, we want to go to our desktop, router, 37, copy the bin, next, next, next. Now on this one, I'm not going to do the idle PC. I'm going to hit finish, and then I'm going to hit OK. All right, so now I have my topology here. And if I click on this icon, it will give me my routers. So if I drag a router onto my topology, we'll add it here. And notice it's in red, which means it's not running. So to start it, you can right click and then click on start. And then this goes to green. And then to get the idle PC, you just right click again and then idle PC. And this will do the same thing we just saw on there. All right, so now we're at the part in the lab. It's at the bottom of page 4, where it says build our first simulated network. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop this. We can also stop everything on our topology with the stop sign there. And then I'm going to delete this from my network. So just click on it and hit delete. So what we want to do is we want to drag two 3600 routers onto our topology. And then we want to right click on the first one and select configure. And then click on R1, and we want to go to the slot. And in slot 0, we want to add a NM-1FE-TX. And we want to put that in both slot 0 and slot 1. Basically what this is a network card. So we basically installed a network card in slot 0 and slot 1. All right. And then we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to do the same thing for R2. So right click, configure, R2 slots. And we'll put the NM-1FE-TX in both slots. All right. And then the next thing we want to do, and if we click the routers again, that kind of opens that drawer and then close it. We click on this one that says end devices and VPCS. Those are virtual PCs. So we're going to drag one PC over here and another one over there. And then if we click it again, it goes away. All right, and we can enlarge our topology so we can see it a little bit better. And we'll put that there. All right, so the next thing we want to do is click on the cable icon, which is the bottom one here. And if we click on PC1, we're going to stick the PC and connect that to the Ethernet card. And then on the router, if we click, we want the PC connected to fast Ethernet 00. Okay, and if you get a Windows Defender firewall, click on allow. Okay, then we're going to connect PC2 Ethernet 0 to fast Ethernet 00. And then we're going to connect fast Ethernet 10 to fast Ethernet 10. And if we click on the cable again, we'll notice that everything is connected. Now, to see where they're connected, if we click on this little ABC with a little connector, it's between the clock and the greater than sign. We click on that, it will show us that the PC is on Ethernet 0 and is connected to F0/0 on the router. And then the routers are interconnected with the F10 interface. And then the PC2 is on the F00. All right, then the next thing we want to do is click on the little start button here. And if you get a notice again for the firewall, click allow. And you'll see that these will go into an on mode. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is if we double click on PC1, it's going to open its console. All right. So what we want to do is we want to assign the IP address of 192.168.1.200 with the default gateway of 192.168.1.1 and a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0 or /24. So the way we do that in GNS3 with the virtual PC is we type IP and then the address. Oops. And then the default gateway, and then the number of bits that are in the subnet mask, so /24. All right. And if you hit enter, it's going to go out on their little virtual network and see if it's a good number. And it says it is. And then to show that, we can do show IP, and it shows us that, okay, I have an IP and subnet mask of 192.168.1.200/24 and a gateway of 192.168.1.1. All right. So now you can close this. I think closing it is the best way. If you minimize it and then double click PC0 again, you might get a timeout. So I always like to close those. So now let's go to PC2. And we're going to assign the IP of 192.168.2.200 with the default gateway of 192.168.2.1, and it is also a 24-bit subnet mask. So then I'm going to type show IP, and you're going to take a screenshot of that as well. All right, so now we have our end devices configured, the PCs, and now we need to connect or set up our routers. So what we're going to do is go to router 1, double click, and you notice it opens up the console, and we're going to go into configure terminal. Now, you can type it out or you can shortcut it. So if you just do conf T, it will go into config mode. And then what we want to do is we want to select the interface 0/0. And that's our internal interface, the one that's connected to our PC. And we're going to give that an IP address of 192.168.1.1 and a subnet mask 255.255.0, and then we need to tell it don't shut down, so we'll type no shut. Okay, and then we're also going to configure the other side of the router, so we're going to go int fa10, and we're going to give that the IP address of 1.1.1.1 with a subnet mask at 255.255.255.252. Okay, and then hit enter and then say no shut. Okay, and that interface will come up here in a second. There it goes. All right, so the next thing we want to do is hit the Control Z, which will get us out of config mode. And then we're going to save our configuration by telling our router to save that in the memory. So if we do wrmem, it will do that. And then I want you to take a screenshot of this output. So show IP interface brief. And you should see that you have interfaces. They're assigned 00 is 192.168.1.1. The status is up and the protocol is up. And then the F10 is 1.1.1.1, and it's up and up as well. Okay, so then you can close this. And now we're going to go over to R2. and we're going to go conf t, and we're going to go interface FA0/0, and we're going to do IP address 192.168.2.1, 255.255.255.0. No shot. Give that a second. And then we're going to go interface FA10, IP address of 1.1.1.2, subnet mask 255.255.255.252. No shutdown, and that's that. Okay. So now we have our PC connected to our router connected to the other router, and then our router connected to the PC. So now we're going to ping from PC1. So if I again double click on it, and if it's black, just hit enter, and I'm going to type ping our router. So I'm going to ping 192.168.1.1, and you'll notice you get a reply, right? So then I'm going to ping to the inside of my router. Oh, actually, I want you to ping from PC1 to the router's internal gateway. So I'm going to ping 192.168.2.1. So that goes, and the first one might time out while it builds what's known as the ARP table. So basically what I just tested, and if I run that again, it will all have 100% instead of 80%. But so what I did is I pinged from PC1 to R1 and then PC2 to R2 on this side of the thing. Now, if they don't communicate, you should get a connection there. If they don't, double check your IP addresses and your subnet mask. All right, so now from PC2, I should be able to ping to the inside of my router, which is 1.1.1.2. So I ping that, and that's successful. And then PC1 will do the same thing. 1.1.1.1. So now what that's showing me is that I can ping from PC to this side of the router. And from PC1, I can ping to the other side of the router. Okay. Now, the one you're probably all asking is, can PC1, so I'm going to show the IP, is 192.168.1.200, can I ping 2.100? So can I ping across the network? And the answer is no. And there's a question in the lab that says, should they be able to ping? Why or why not? I'm going to leave that for you to figure out. But if you look at the next section of the lab, it kind of tells you that. So in this week's lecture, we talk about routing protocols. And what do routing protocols do? They tell our routers how to get to other networks. So as you probably have guessed, we need to configure our routers to tell R1 needs to tell R2 about this network, and R2 needs to tell R1 about this network. So the way we do that is we go into the router, go into configuration mode, and we're going to start with a router RIP, which is the RIP protocol. And we're going to use version 2. And we're going to tell RIP to advertise the 192.168.1.0 network and also advertise the 192.168.1.0 network, or the 1.1.1.0 network. Okay, so then again, Control Z, write memory, and then we're going to do the same thing over on R2. So double click it, and we'll go into config terminal, router RIP, version 2, network 192.168.2.0, and 1.1.1.0. Okay, so now that those routers are advertising their networks, we should be able to go, we'll go on this PC and we'll show IP, and this is 2.200. So let's try to ping 1.200. And first one times out, and then it finally goes through. Okay, so if you get a timeout, just run it again, because that router has to write everything down and build a routing table. Once it does that, we'll have full connectivity.